Thursday, March the 30th. Lake level is about 912 and a half. We didn't get as much rain and snow as we were expected to get, and they've been generating a little water. So the lake's only come up about 6 inches or so. Hadn't had a chance to get out a whole lot. I was out today and yesterday. I've had a lot of trips canceled because of the weather, the wind, and the cold. So anyways, hadn't had a chance to get out a whole lot, but the water temperature is still right at, 44, 45 degrees in the morning, warming up to like 46. We're kind of in a wintertime hold. I mean, we should have, normally the 1st of April, we've got fish on the beds, but we're still 10, 12 degrees away water temperature-wise, and then fish, moving up to spawn. But, the clock inside of them is telling them it's ready. The days are longer. Those fish are staging. A lot of them seem to be suspended. They really haven't moved into where they're going to spawn yet. They're still sitting outside them spawning areas. Now, before we get into some of the fishing, my wife's made a new page, a website page connected to ours. If you go right there with right above the fishing video, or it's right below it, there'll be upcoming tournaments on Table Rock. And she's got April and May posted. And what it is if somebody's looking to fish a tournament, or the following week after a tournament's been fished, you can go to that tournament and go to the link, and hopefully if that tournament company's got the results up, you can see what the results were, who caught what. We've got the night tournaments, the charity tournaments, and also if some of you guys have got some tournaments that you'd like us to list on there, just email us the information. We'll be glad to put it up on there. What I've tried to do is get it so Monday or Tuesday I can come look at this and get the tournament results of what happened on the lake, and also if I want to fish something that upcoming weekend, it tells you where all the tournaments are going out of. And like I say, it's got a link if you need more information. And also out of Cape Fear this weekend, I mentioned it a couple times, the Peyton Edwards Benefit Tournament. It's a young girl that has dyslexic, which is a learning disease, and it's out of Cape Fear Marina. I think it's a $70 entry fee. 70% payback, and the proceeds will be going to her for her special education. Now, as far as what's going on the lake, like I say, everything, it's been a lot of the same. The Alabama rig, without a doubt, is totally dominating. But there was a tournament this weekend. It was no Alabama rig was allowed, and I think it had 18 or 20 boats. 4 fish took 20 pounds to win. So they're definitely biting other things besides the A-rig. It just seems like 95% of the people out there are throwing A-rigs, so that's what you hear. 95% of the fish are being caught on. Now, something I'm going to talk about a little bit here this week is this is something that'll work all year round, any water depth, and a lot of you may have heard about it. It's called a G-rig. Some places it's called a Jika rig, but anyways, I just call it the G-rig. Let me show you one without a. Basically, all it is, you can fish any type of plastic bait, whether it be finesse bait, creature bait, twin-tail chompers, a Senko, and you can rig these up yourself. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of tackle. Most everybody has what they need to rig them up. I'm just using a worm hook, and I'm using a number 3 split ring, and then what I've got here for a weight is a drop shot weight. The main reason I use this long drop shot weight is because I have a lot of them, and I find it comes through the rocks a little bit better than the round weight does. Now, the bait is really versatile. Like, here's one rigged up on a beaver, and I've got them rigged up from 1/4 ounce, 3/8, 1/2 ounce, and I've got some rigged up with bigger hooks, some with smaller hooks, depending on what type of bait I'm throwing on there. Now, here's one. This is kind of like a little bell weight, and this is just a little finesse bait, and this is it's a bait that Buddy pours for me. It's a centipede with tentacles, but you can fish like a 4-inch drop shot worm or something on this. And this hook I've got on this is a little mustad hook. If you'll notice right up here, it's got a keeper built right into the hook. It's not a standard offset worm hook. And that's really a pretty slick little deal, because you just slide the bait up on there about 1/4 of an inch when you go to Texas rig it, and it holds it up there real good. You know, and what's great about this is a lot of times when you're popping the bait off to get it unstuck, if the bait slides down off a regular worm hook and balls up. Now the hooks that I use on these G-rigs, speaking of that falling off, I'm using a mustad hook on these also. And if you notice, from the bend up to the eyelet, it's a lot longer than most worm hooks. And that's so I can get more of the plastic up on there to keep the bait Texas rigged like that without it sliding down. You know, I mean, it'll take a lot to ball that, you know, to pull that bait down. Now that's a 4-inch beaver I've got on there. And like I say, you know, the size of the weight and everything is just going to depend on the depth of the water that you're fishing and how fast you want to move it. Well, the only thing you got to make sure, now here's one that's rigged up on a Cinco. The only thing you got to make sure you do is you want your weight on the bottom. You want to make sure you tie on your split ring between the weight and the hook. And, you know, even like the slime isn't too bad right now because the water's been coming up. But I'm finding in the areas where I've been fishing a football jig that I don't get near the slime on this here. And I would fish these rigs any place that I would fish a football jig. You know, why not a football jig? You know, it's just giving the fish a little bit different presentation. I think the bait's got a lot more action because the weight's on the bottom and you're pulling from the split ring. So like on a twin tail chompers, you know, the tails are going to have a lot more action. And it's kind of similar to like Pig Sticker makes the pig rig. Gene LaRue makes the Tommy Biffle hard head, which is a hook that swivels on a football head. The same concept, you seem to lose less fish and get more action out of the bait. What I find with the weights like this, it'll come through the rock and the brush a little bit better than a big football head. And I can still use, you know, 1/2 ounce or 5/8 or whatever size weight on there. So hopefully the weather will start to warm up. It looks like we're finally going to get above freezing in the morning, but it's going to take a couple weeks to get that water up there to where it needs to be. But when these fish move, they're going to move in a hurry because, you know, they know it's time and they're ready to get in there and do their deal. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.